Aries and wild boar people. Wild boar because yesterday I came face to face with one around the corner, which was quite frightening. It was fine, it ran, and they moved so fast. But anyway, because of that, we need to honour that beast. We're doing a Celtic cross for you here, and I think it's about finding your place in the world and feeling honoured and in the centre of it. There's a sense in which you don't feel quite honoured at the beginning of this reading, and at the end we see that you're getting there, and I'll show you how. So, your interior world. We've got the Hermit. It's a Hermit year when I'm recording this, 2025, and he is very solemn. It's an incredibly blue card. This is what's standing out to me today. He almost has his eyes closed, so he almost doesn't need that the light of this star that he's carrying for himself. It's like he's feeling his way. So internally you are on a quest, and it's got to be your way and unique to you and very... It might feel a bit isolating while you're finding it, but you will go back into the village, so don't worry about that. So, how that makes you act on the outside. There's sort of new information coming through, and so with that new information and this kind of teenage type energy, you're going to climb onto your higher ground and start piecing together how you want your life to look after this quest, and get quite strategic about it, which is wonderful. Because in the basis of the reading, we have the Three of Wands. It shows you seeing where you want to go now, with your passion, with this view of life that you've become clear on, where you feel more like the star of the show and more honoured. We see you fixating on that. It's interesting how this character's got his back to us, isn't it? Again, so he's got his back to us. The hermit has got his head bowed, and he's not looking at anything potentially. It looks like he's got his eyes closed. Your outward demeanour is very focused on something in the far distance. So there's a lot of looking beyond what's really there, either going into yourself, or by looking very, very far away, i.e. projecting yourself into another reality. You're slightly disconnected from this reality at the moment, but that's okay because you're on a mission. In the recent past, the Five of Swords, so this Pyrrhic victory, I suspect it's you that's got smashed around a bit here, and it's not much fun, and no one felt very good after it, and that's probably what sent you on this quest in the first place. And where this all might lead is to the Seven of Pentacles. Now this is, if we just look at what's happened in the near, about to happen, what's just happened, and what we know your mission is. So this would be you working on a new place in the world, finding yourself a new place in the world, and potentially feeling a bit frustrated that it wasn't happening quick enough. I suspect that would be what's happening. He looks a little bit bored and antsy, like, am I ever going to get this harvest? But, so then we have the Eight of Pentacles, the next card, with the Devil coming up in the near future, which shows you getting quite obsessive about whatever this new work is. Because the Devil is the card of sort of addiction and workaholism and being kind of obsessively partnered with something that can tip into slightly unhelpful territory. And the Eight of Pentacles is working so hard he barely lifts his head. So that energy of the Eight with the 15, the major 15 of the Devil, I think means you really drilling down and getting quite obsessive about something that you're doing. It's interesting to see. Good, because we see that you found something to do that you love, and it might be you working really, really obsessively and hard on how to get to this next goal that you found. And in your attitude, again, a dark blue card, not dissimilar to the Hermit, very similar colours. This time we're lit by the moon. And it gives a feeling of, in your attitude, you're a little bit unsure as to what's going on, if we're completely honest. You're slightly groping around in the dark. You might feel quite emotional at the moment. It's rich territory. Doesn't mean it's always comfortable. But we know so that's your interior like that and your attitude like that. So that's really doubling down on that feeling of on a quest, slightly lost, but feeling your way to where you need to be. Amazing. It's a very good thing to do. And then in your environment, the world and the Two of Wands. So your environment, with the Two of Wands, it precedes your Three of Wands, which is the root of this reading. It's when you start realising you need to look for something else. Alexander looking at the globe and then surveying the world and thinking, where do I want to go next? Where do I want to go next to make myself the centre of my world, like this world card? But also the implication is that because the world is the last card in the major arcana, the implication is a cycle has ended, and so you need something new to do. But I've got this feeling it's about you putting yourself in the centre of things. So in your environment, there might be a feeling of a culmination of some sort, whether this is at work or at home, and also a sense that you're on the move. You could literally be moving. I don't know. And your hopes and fears. So this is the first card who really, really looks us in the eye. The character that, well, I guess the devil's looking at us in the eye. He's very engaged with us, this obsession. And in fact, so is the world. Sort of, not really, no. So the Empress is the first who really, really stares at us. This is what you really, really want. You want to make eye contact with this character. Being fully creative, fully in your resplendent, creative, maternal, or if it's not maternal, creative, generative. She's so still and resplendent and able to command creativity, really. Birth of whatever it is. That's what you're really, really after. And where it's all leading is the King of Wands. I think you're going to get a plan, and I think it's going to be very productive, and off you go. Again, not looking at us. I mean, a lot of the characters don't, but I feel like you're off. Finally, the energy is unleashed. So let's cap this with a card from the Enchanted Tarot, Enchanted Forest Tarot, and then we might have one as well from the time is it? Yeah, one from the Shining Tribe, Derek. But let's see whether there's anything that needs to be commented on here. The Child of Visions, she's cute. Look at her running along. She looks very happy. So let's see what they have to say about that. It's been raining all day here and yesterday, and so I did one little reading. It's an Etruscan tomb around the corner, which is where I met the wild boar, but I sort of miss this bench when I can't sit on it. It's where I feel most comfortable doing these readings, I think, because there's so much bird song and space and sky. This feels quite nice. So, gentle, emotionally sensitive, appreciation of beauty, wonder, innocence, Pollyanna, optimism. The shadow traits of this would be naivety, emotional vulnerability, unrealistic, oversensitive, easily fooled, a potential for great disappointment. The Child of Visions has been abandoned in the forest. The woods look scary and forbidding to us, but not to her. Everything she sees is viewed through a rosy filter of delight. Her world holds for only beauty and goodness, no matter the situation. Her trusting nature expects everyone to be a friend and every story to end with a happily ever after. Her emotions are near the surface, and when tears do fall, they pass as quickly as summer storms. Oh, look how the raindrops sparkle like diamonds on the spider's web. Because it's been raining here. That's interesting. I just mentioned it. If this card does not represent a particular person, it can mean a time of increasing harmony, a gift of beauty, or a quarrel forgiven. So that's lovely, because in the near past, the recent past, we see this uncomfortable quarrel or battle of some sort, quarrel probably. And now that we've started to metabolize some of this and you're groping your way to how to get yourself into the middle of your world, it starts to be forgiven. And she very much looks like she could be a child of the Empress for some reason or other to me. So a time of optimism. I don't think I'm too worried about you being naive, because I can see how much soul searching you're doing here. There's nothing particularly naive about any of these cards. I think it's to do with a relief after quite a difficult or a bit of a sort of annoying time, shall we put it. And so the Three of Birds, which is the Three of Swords. And I love this card because it talks again about relief through grief in a really beautiful way. Three of Birds. This is from the Rachel Pollock's Shining Tribe deck. Denial, this is reversed. So, divinatory meaning pain, sorrow, heartbreak, transformation through willingness to accept these experiences, the discovery of the energy inside pain or depression. And I think that speaks to the Hermit and the Moon, because the Moon can be depression, it can be feeling a bit overwhelmed. And I think it would be realistic to say that you might have learnt something through this. It speaks to us of an agonised heart. It tells us we can do nothing but accept sorrow. It takes us to another stage when a person has found the courage to acknowledge sorrow. It tells us that we can take hold of the energy of pain and transform it. This does not mean escape, for transformation only comes when we go deep into our own experiences. The blood red hand symbolises the willingness to enter sorrow if we touch our own wounded hearts. The moon that rises behind the hill signifies a willingness to turn away from the rational consciousness that explains away pain, analyses it intellectually, or finds distractions in outer activities such as work or amusement. The moon also represents divine grace, which supports and heals us when we're ready to accept pain. When we feel such emotional pain or depression or grief, it's always the same. These things bind us and hold us down. We feel a weight that crushes us to dirt. When we begin to release the bound up energy, we discover that we can go in many directions. The snake symbolises visions. The light represents self-knowledge, and the river, released emotions, those three strands. That's the bit I love about this card, and I think it's trying to make me understand that actually the moon might have been a bit more significant to you, that there might have been a period of proper depression going on here, or real worry about this fight, and now you're released with the King of Wands and this child of visions into a much more flowing state, because you've actually metabolized what's going on. So that's really wonderful. The light is beginning to fade, so we're just going to take a couple of cards from the Little Rider deck, see if there's anything that it wants to add to that. Yeah, the Hermit it's almost like he's talking to these two who felt left out of the church, and the Five of Pentacles. He's saying, come on this way, I've got you. And he grabs those kids, well, they're not kids, they're actually people, but they always remind me of children. They're adults, and says, I've got the way out. And that's what your Hermit is doing internally. It's getting your more needy parts to safety so that you can unleash some of that wonderful Aries energy, wild boar energy. And here we've got the confusion of the Seven of Cups, followed by an epiphany. This is lovely. The death, which equals rebirth, and then finally your lovely new start in the Ace of Pentacles. So that really does show you groping around in the dark like the Hermit and the Moon, and then finally getting what all this emotion is about, which then creates this rebirth through the death, so that you can have your wonderful physical new start. That's so lovely. See you again soon.